but it just goes to show that that racism will always be a part of the world, a part of America, and hate, in America, especially for African American, is living every day. And even though that, that it's concealed most of the time, even though people hide their faces and will say things about you, and when they see you, they smile in your face. It's alive every single day. So it's like no matter how much money you have, no matter how famous you are, no matter how many people admire you, being black in America is tough.
All right, what's good, people? Black is More podcast. Thanks for joining us once again. I always got to start the show off like that. I always appreciate the support. Please subscribe, hit that like button. Makes it a lot easier for us to get the video out there. And if you subscribe, you'll be notified anytime we post something new. Got two hosts today, or actually, three hosts, including myself. We got Marcel. Marcel, what's up? How you feeling?
Feeling good, feeling great, feeling good. How are you?
It's a great song, man. It's a great choice right there. And we got a very, very good friend of the show. I feel like if we had a third host, it would be Rob. And he's joined us before on some discussions. So definitely good to have you back, man.
Hey, it's good to be back, man. Glad y'all continue doing this. It's a good look.
Absolutely, man. We gotta let the people know. So real quick before we get into anything, gotta give a shout out to our sponsor, myfacetoday.com.
The sponsor.
Go on there, man. T-shirts, coffee mugs, and something's on the horizon with our logo. You might be seeing some shirts and stuff on there pretty soon to purchase, so just be looking out for that. And always remember, if you type in the coupon code BIM1 for Black is More 1, you get 10% off. Big shout out to them. They're doing big things, and they a big supporter of us. So myfacetoday.com, check them out. So we got two topics today. The first one you might have got a glimpse of at the top of the show. I had a little clip of LeBron talking, but he just had an incident that happened to him that he was kind of talking about in the interview. So we'll touch on that very quickly. And then the meat and potatoes, which is why we brought the expert Rob on, is America and its origins and how it is really a corporation. So very interesting stuff right there. But yeah, first topic. So I'm not going to waste any more time. Like I said, at the top of the show, we had a quick clip of LeBron talking about how his house got vandalized, and he was responding to a reporter who, was just asking him about it. And, of course, this is, especially on the eve of the finals, and the finals is today, actually, while we're recording. So, LeBron's already, obviously, huge sports figure, finals. Somebody spray painted the N-word on his house, so, big topic. But anyway, Chris Broussard and Jason Whitlock were kind of going back and forth about this on Jason Whitlock's show, Speak for Yourself, which he hosts with Colin Cowherd. And I just want to play a clip of that real quick of their exchange. It's kind of heated. And then we'll kind of talk about it a little bit before we transition. So real quick, this is a clip of Whitlock and Chris Broussard kind of talking about this thing.
I think the staff cleaned it up within minutes.
Well,
what was the impact?
I mean, LeBron is the impact. You don't know what the impact could be.
Is he
the
crying somewhere? Is he
sentiment
not playing
behind
tonight?
spray painting the N-word on somebody's garage could lead to something worse. And LeBron James has children, all right, a 12-year-old son and maybe a 9 or 10-year-old son. He's also thinking about other incidents, Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner, Tamir Rice,
Poor people.
Terrence Crutch.
Poor people.
Or not, Henry Louis Gates. On his own porch, a Harvard professor accosted by a policeman. Hold on, let me finish. I mean, pointing out obstacles and facts is not embracing.
Obstacle here.
That's an obstacle. It's an obstacle white people in America don't have to deal with.
They never and their houses never get vandalized. They never hear disrespectful things to them.
When pointing out facts is not embracing victimhood, LeBron James clearly does not think of himself.
Man just said,
can I finish?
Yes, you can. And it is still my show, Chris.
I don't care whose show it is.
I do.
I'm on the set.
It's still my show. You
So
can't
that means I can't talk?
You can't filibuster the whole conversation.
You've cut me off every 6 words because I don't agree with you. You start by saying racism exists, but then every time a black person brings up racism, you shoot it down.
Because again, someone spray painting something on a millionaire's home.
He's not a victim in that situation?
Hell no.
He was victimized?
Well, it's nothing, Chris, in the grand scheme. And to analogize it to Emmett Till is a joke.
All right, as you can hear there, very passionate. But yeah, what do y'all think about that? I mean, do you think Jason Whitlock had a point there, and LeBron not really being affected by this event, or do you kind of side more with Chris Broussard and just how he was saying LeBron has a right to speak up and be vocal about this stuff? And I guess I'll start with Rob, man, just get your opinion on this.
I personally think he had every right to be upset about it.
Yeah.
Anytime you're black in America and you become somewhat successful, they think that's supposed to pacify you. And we've seen numerous examples of where that doesn't have any effect. Like the fact that you have money and you're black, it makes you more of a target because then you don't necessarily have to conform to the good old boy rules of keeping your head down and making white people comfortable.
Right.
And that's usually why they try to give a lot of African Americans a lot of money for that reason. And for him to say that it doesn't affect LeBron, that's stupid. LeBron still has kids. He has kids that are still going to have to go out and interact with the world just like minorities who don't have as much money. They be riding down the street, get pulled over by a police officer. Like that same racism affects them whether you have money or not. Like that, that doesn't change your skin color. I mean, Kanye quoted it in one of his songs. He was like, even if you got money, you still, like, even if you got a Benz, you still a nigga in a coupe. Like, it don't matter. Like, you still a nigga, so that doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. I think it was actually pretty stupid for him to even suggest that it doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah, Sal, what about you, man?
Yeah, man. Once again, Jason Whitlock, he has another profession. He's a conductor, part of the cool train.
I knew it was coming, bro.
Yeah, this nigga's a coon, bro. Get him the fuck out of here. Yeah, to piggyback off of what Rob was saying, I would probably even argue that the fact that with him having more money, he runs into more racism. The reason why I say that is because he's probably around more white people than a typical black person would be. Just because he's wealthy.
Yeah.
So for my biggest problem with Whitlock is that he's saying that poor people are the only ones that are affected by racism. That's the biggest problem I have with that. Like, that's so stupid. I would say ignorant, but he knows better. And it just makes no sense. Like, I'm with Chris Broussard all the way. Jason Whitlock, he basically reminds me of Samuel L. Jackson's character from Django. That's what he is to Fox. Seriously, like, he's just one of those good old house niggas, and I mean that in the meanest way. But
the most malice I can. I mean,
right.
Yeah. I would say, man, I'm.
What do you think, Aaron?
Well, I was just gonna say, I think I really appreciate LeBron, and you kind of said this before we even start recording, that he's willing to speak up a little bit about these things, because it's so easy. Like, I've seen so many people who are in a privileged position as black people, and they kind of duck this stuff. And I always think about Lil Wayne and his cooning ass. When he did that interview on ESPN, he just embarrassed us.
Right.
But,
white man saved him.
I do appreciate, and I know, man, like, but I do appreciate LeBron speaking up. And I mean, I guess I understand what Whitlock was trying to say in that LeBron isn't experiencing the same racism as somebody who is poor. You know, I understand a little bit of that point. However, I'm never gonna, knock another black man for trying to speak up for something that ain't right. That's the same. You know, I wish old dude, the coach for the Warriors, would have done that.
Right.
I mean,
Mike
we just
Brown.
were talking about that the other day.
Yep.
So I mean, I don't know. I try to see both sides of the argument. Definitely side with Chris Broussard. He was going ham. I appreciate that passion. But again, like I said, we just wanted to touch on that because I know that's on a lot of people's mind, especially as a lot of people are probably watching a finals game or something like that. So, but yeah, man. So without further ado, I don't know which one of y'all want to introduce this, but or start it off. But so the origins of America, man. There's a lot of y'all two are probably the most well-read and most educated when it comes to these types of things. So this should be good. But origins of America and America as a corporation.
Mm-hmm.
Sel, do you want to start and just kind of get us going, and then Rob, you can chime in and just add any type of information you want there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Basically, in the past, I've done some research on America and how everything came about. And what I found out is that this is actually not America. The soil that we're on is actually Morocco, or an extension of the Moroccan Empire. One of the first, the actual first country to acknowledge America was Morocco. I believe it was 1970. Well, not 19, but 1777. And even Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, they've had other press conferences in which they've said the exact same thing.
I also know that Islam has always been a part of America's story. The first nation to recognize my country was Morocco.
And going into my studies, looking at the Treaty of Tripoli, I believe it's 1791. You look at like the Article 11, and it basically states that this country actually wasn't founded upon Christian beliefs. And it says a little bit more about how they're, I guess, okay or cool with the Muslims or Islamic people. And it was very shocking to me because when you come up as a kid, I don't know about you, but I really thought that, this country was founded upon some Christian type values. Just thinking of, pilgrims and everything like that. But, so I found out it was basically an expansion of Morocco. And then there's other things as far as like George Washington. As a kid, we grow up thinking that George Washington is our first ever president. But if you look at a letter that George Washington wrote, I believe it was in 1787, he basically acknowledged the 8 presidents that were before him. And with that being said, they were Moors, they were black leaders. And also just wanted to say, like, when it comes to Moors, black people were actually here before anybody else when it comes to America. What some people fail to realize is when you think of slavery, let's say probably 11 to 12 million people were shipped from Africa. Only about 500,000 of those people actually made it over to America. And for the rest of them, they probably went over to the West Indies, to South America and stuff like that. But with that being said, blacks were already here before that even happened. And they were Moors. When it comes to Christopher Columbus's boat that came to America, he had Moor captains, or Moorish captains, like I stated on the last episode. And the Moorish captains, they were the ones that actually communicate with the Moors or the Aborigines that were already here in America. So that's the reason, or that's the way that they were able to communicate and break bread. And that's just a little insight on the origins of America,
Right.
on how black people actually need to, let me rephrase it. Black people actually need to stop going by black, because you're not black. Black is a misnomer. The word nigga is a misnomer. Negro is a misnomer. It's basically anything that you go by that really isn't true. We're basically from Moorish descent. And if you look at, I believe it's the Pennsylvania Assembly resolution number 75. I believe it was made in like 1933. It basically states something about how they've tricked Moors into, considering themselves as African Americans and Negroes. And what that did was it basically took them from a lot of their rights and a lot of their riches as well. But African Americans, or blacks as we call them today, don't really know that. So if anybody gets anything out of this episode today, I want them to understand that we do come from Moorish descent. Not everybody's from Africa. As far as when it comes to coming from America, coming to America, there were already Moors there.
Right.
But yeah.
Hey, real quick before you get started, Rob, I just wanted to say, one of the things that we want to do with our show is not just kind of comment and give our opinions on the current events that we discuss. I mean, there's so many things out there, and a lot of times that's what we do. We'll discuss those things, but we want to educate as well, and that's kind of what this piece is. So, we always say it: don't take our word for it. Do your own research. But again, these two guys right here who are talking have done a lot of research. But don't take their word for it. All this stuff that Sel's talking to you about, Moors, the origins of America, things like that. We're just trying to get that breadcrumb trail started for you. But that's good stuff, man. But yeah, I just wanted to say that real quick to give people some more context on this stuff. But yeah, Rob, I know you wanted to kind of talk a little bit more about the corporation side too. And if you got anything you want to add to the origins as well, please.
Oh no, it like what I'm about to say pretty much just kind of leads to it as far as the misnomers about the title that people accept.
Okay.
After the Civil War, in the District of Columbia, 1871, they created something called the Organic Act, and basically, it was the start of the corporation of the United States. They went so far as to change, like the original Constitution, I believe, said it is the Constitution. I think it's the Union for the Constitution for the Union of the States or something like that. But they changed it to the United States Constitution, and by making it all caps, as probably business people will recognize, when you change something to all caps, you turn it into a corporation or entity, and it becomes more like a business.
Right.
And the amendments that came after that, like the ratification, like the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, they also had some strings attached to them. The 14th Amendment in particular pretty much gave away sovereign power. Like the only way for you to join the Union after the Civil War was to ratify the 14th Amendment. But to do so, you gave away all your sovereign power to the government or to the corporation.
Right.
And once you gave that to the corporation, you no longer own anything. So basically, you're paying taxes and rent and fees on everything, but you don't actually own anything.
Right.
And they've been using that to pass laws, and people have, like, so they gave up their, like, even when you're born, you give up your sovereign right once the birth certificate is signed, because it's signed stating that you certify that you're birthing a business or entity.
Right.
So you don't even get the same rights as like a human being. Like everybody talk about slavery ending. Chattel slavery ended, but slavery where you have to work, like nothing here is for you, like people don't even, we do it now unconsciously. We pay taxes on property that we don't own. We pay property taxes. We pay, what's it called? I think it's like, I forgot what the name of it, but basically it's like a tax to even park your car on the property that you're already paying.
Right.
That you're already paying property taxes on. And again, since it's a corporation, you don't have the same rights and, I guess I wouldn't say privileges, because the things that you have are kind of, there are privileges because you signed them over. At this point, you signed over your rights, over your sovereign rights.
Right.
So in the mind of the corporation, it is a privilege that you're allowed to do certain things. Like the fact that you have to have a passport now, you have to register to travel, like stuff like that. That wasn't necessary back then. And we just kind of issued up all our freedoms and was like, here, we give you all our freedoms and you give us the ones you think we need. And they cover it in the guise of security. Or like, we want to make sure you're okay, but nobody really cares. Like the things that they do now and they're going to continue to do is all business. Like something I was reading, like specifically stated, like we haven't had a president since Abraham Lincoln. Every head that we've elected is essentially a CEO of the corporation.
Right, exactly.
And they move, and like if you pay attention to the things that we do now, we move like a corporation. Like we don't even move like a society who's interested in building up the society, making advancements in technology, education, healthcare. Like everything is about money, just like it is when you own a business. Like everybody's upset about the things that Donald Trump is doing, but he's running it just like he would any other business.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
He has his security.
He's making cuts.
Yeah. I mean, he has his security.
Right.
He's using it. Well, it's his security. He's using the U.S. Army as his security. Like all the things that he wants to do, he's like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to send soldiers to make sure that it happens. The cuts. We lay people off all the time. It's the same thing. Those budget cuts that he's doing, it's like one huge entity, and everything that's up under it is like a small department inside of it.
Right.
Like from Department of Justice to all the way down to the court systems, where you have all these court fees and fines. Like everything is private. Nothing is really public. Once you start doing research, it's like all private businesses. Even like creditors,
right?
Like they don't have. They're supposed to be, profit, but there's really no profit there from what they're doing because it's all one huge company. It's not separate, but they make it appear that it is, and they all work for the same thing.
I'm glad you stated that because when it comes to the birth certificate, basically once we're born and our parents sign that birth certificate, it technically makes us part shareholders of the U.S., aka the corporation. I think the source was probably like Dunn and Bradstreet.
Yeah.
But back in 1933, the U.S. went bankrupt. And when it comes to those creditors and stuff like that, as you were saying, they're supposed to be a profit organization, but they're not. So a lot of times when people have these debts from these credit card companies, there's some questions that they can actually ask the creditors. And, some of them are like, are you even for a profit organization? You can ask them to attach their registration certificate. You can ask them about them paying their taxes. You can ask them to provide proof that it's real debt. And if I don't pay you, will your business go under? Like you can ask these types of questions. If they can't give you an answer, then your debt is actually complete BS. People don't know that.
Yeah.
And as Rob was mentioning earlier about the UCC1, before we started the show, if you're a parent, at some particular age, you should put your children, you should trademark their name. basically, because that can actually make them some money and save them from the complete chaos of the BS debt that we have to deal with, credit cards and stuff like that. But yeah, I just wanted to state that.
You know, when y'all talk about, well, specifically something Rob was saying about how, we move as a country, it really does seem like a corporation, just because when I think about like a lot of the political policies and things that I see coming out, I guess more recently now, but even, back in the day, like it doesn't really take into account like if people are happy or not. It's just like because right now I'm thinking about the healthcare thing, and there's like even people on both sides of the aisle, right, are like, no, we don't want this, Trump American Healthcare Act or whatever they call it, ACA. We don't want it to replace Obamacare, but it's got to be making somebody more money down the line. So they're just like, okay, whatever. And I think they have a report like 23 million more or less Americans are going to be insured by it. But I mean, to me, that makes a lot of sense, if they are operating like a corporation, because corporations don't think of like the individuals who they're affecting. They think about the bottom line.
Right.
They're like, okay, well, it's just, it's 1,000 people that's going to be cut out, but whatever, we still going to make this money. So, but I have a question, like, for both of y'all, I guess, like, who do you think is at the top of this thing, man? Like, is it the Rockefellers? Is it, god dang, somebody we don't know? Like, who's like kind of pulling the strings in the big corporation if the president is just the CEO?
Well, I don't know, what particular what Sil has read about it, but for me, it goes back to the Federal Reserve and the families that have the hand in the Federal Reserve Bank. Right. Like when we came out of the Civil War, and like you said in 1933, like during that time, we were struggling to have anything back in our money, like the gold and silver we had.
Right.
We were trying to hold on to it so we can have some type of value, but eventually we succumbed to the pressure of needing to make some advancements, and we had this huge opportunity for manufacturing advancement and technology. So we took the loans from the Federal Reserve. So they give us all this money,
right?
But that money came with crazy interest rate that we would never be able to pay back. Now we have our booming economy, but we can't pay. There's no way we could pay all that money back, and not to mention the fact that they can control inflation and how they pull money in and out of the economy to make the market move. So at this point, we're owing them money. So instead of giving them money, we're making business decisions that say, okay, look, I know I owe you $5 million. I can't give you that, but I can create this policy that's going to require every American to have health insurance.
Right.
So you have an insurance company. You can raise your premiums and you can make money that way. And you can take that off of the money that I owe you. So all these little small legislations that people don't pay any attention to, they're giving these companies money. And while we're paying that money, it appears to be a service for us. But I don't know about you, but I pay car insurance. And, well, this year's actually been a terrible year to use an example. But all the years before, I never had a car accident. But I'm paying all this money for car insurance. Health insurance, I never go to the doctor. I mean, I go for the one free checkup that I get because I have health insurance. But they want to run blood tests. They want to do this test. So they make a few $1,000s on my visit. And the doctor looks at me and says, well, anything bothering you? No? Okay, then we'll see me again in 6 months. And that visit could make anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000. I pay a small copay, but they're charging the insurance company, and they're making that money back.
Right.
So it's like you say, it's definitely backdoor and backhanded like legislation that's allowing them to make money.
Right.
I mean, the bailouts. That was to me that was an obvious one. It was like, we're going to give them all this money, then it's going to trickle down. All those people that they gave bailout money ended up with new yachts, new houses, and none of the money trickled down. They didn't increase no wages. They didn't do no extra hiring. If anything, they cut hours. I had some friends that were working full-time jobs, not like professional jobs, but just regular jobs,
Right.
had the hours cut to 39, so they didn't have to pay for insurance for them.
Oh man.
So it's definitely all about the money. And again, the fact that we're so head down working trying to make it, nobody really has time to sit down and think or research or look at stuff no more, because you don't go to work for a week or a few days. Like, people have accidents and can't work if they don't have workman's comp or no extra stuff like that. Like, that's money they hurting, they don't have it. So people are not taking the time out to really make themselves knowledgeable about anything anymore, other than, I just gotta go make these 40 hours and get this paycheck. Like,
right.
When you do get your paycheck, you're so happy with the simple stuff at the end of the 2 weeks. Like, you're happy with just the little 3-4 hours you get yourself to sit down and watch a basketball game. So that 3 or 4 hours that you would, try to research something or maybe start your own business, you really not even doing that now, because you're so tired. You just sitting down, you watching TV,
Right.
And then that goes to all the BS stuff that's on television. People's attention's on Real Housewives, and you can use that time that you're doing all of that to be, learning a trade, starting your own business. The little small stuff adds up over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you have any additional things as far as who's kind of behind the scenes on this, or what's the motivation, I guess, behind go ahead, please.
No, I agree with Rob 100%. I guess something else I could add on is when you look at our presidential campaigns, the campaigns that are driven the most, or I guess each and every one of them, is by other corporations. When you look at the policies that are made, or the promises that are made, it's really coming straight from the corporations that's donating all the money, to that person's particular campaign. So just want, to show the people, it's not a surprise that America's a corporation, because there are corporations within that influence the way that the laws are passed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just look at how everything goes. It's amazing how cigarettes are still here when they've been proven to kill people. It's amazing how they allow so much other things that in general just harm people, but yet these corporations are still here. When you look at the CEOs or the COOs or whatever of these medical insurance companies, boy, they're making a killing, literally.
Yeah.
They're making billions of dollars. Check their salaries. It's sick. They are filthy freaking rich. But yeah, going back to the Federal Reserve, they pretty much rule everything. With the Federal Reserve, you may have the people, the family of the Bilderbergs, like you were saying, like the Rockefellers, or I can't think right now. The Rockefellers, and what's another popular? I can't even think. Right, it's just a little.
They white though.
Right, they white. One thing you should know, they are white. But yeah, they're pretty much running the game.
Now, here's something as we kind of just bring this all, together and bring it back home and bring it so it can kind of resonate and be real for our listeners. But so with America being a corporation, and if we are to accept that fact, how is this affecting, our community, the black people? Like, what has it done? And, as I'm thinking here, I'm just thinking if corporations are all about money, the people who are going to get, shit on at the end of the day, or the people at the bottom of the totem pole, and we, unfortunately, black people are kind of there. But just in y'all's opinions, and I guess I'll start with you, Rob, what, how is all this corporation, America, and all this stuff really hindering, the black community, or is it hindering us?
I wouldn't say that's what's hindering us. I think ignorance is actually what's hindering us. because we spend trillions of dollars every year, and everybody knows if you don't affect their money, they don't care. The fact that we control so much of the spending in the United States, and we don't recognize that power, like even if we don't have our own huge black-owned corporations that can mobilize for us,
right?
We still spend enough with these white corporations where we can make them care just a little bit. Because I'm almost positive all the money that Nike, Jordan get, it's not all white people. I'm pretty sure a percentage of that trillions of dollars that we spend, especially you can watch it on Black Friday this year. They're going to talk about the spending, and we're spending enough money where we say, I tell you what, if you don't get this laws passed for, let's say, police officers that patrol neighborhoods where they don't live, or particularly if it's a white officer patrolling a minority neighborhood, if we don't get some type of law in place where there needs to be real investigations done, not paid vacations, like get these corporations speaking on our behalf because they're afraid to lose all of the money that we spend with them, then we can start forcing legislation to be passed that can help us.
Yeah.
I mean, we always talk about supporting black business, and I'm definitely one of those people that say that, and I'm also one of those people that hate the customer service that I receive in black businesses. So that's a whole nother subject. Right. But if we had black businesses that we could build up, we can have them mobilize for us, and start conferences or having meetings, or even creating a real group, not like the NAACP ran by Jesse Jackson and all of them, but like a real that's gonna be there for more than just the high profile cases. That's gonna take on like all the things that happen to minorities.
Right.
Like we could really build our own communities and get respect that way.
Right. Because
I talk to my friends about it all the time. A lot of the problems that we have are self-inflicted. Like, there's definitely systemic racism. It's definitely there from television, history books, and all media. Like, that's definitely there. But a lot of our wounds are self-inflicted because we don't support each other. Like, we can have one black guy get on television and say, hey, I want to start doing this. I want to start doing that. These white people go get some friends from when he was like 12 years old, but like, no, we don't need to trust him. He used to sell drugs. All of his credibility gone. Like black people act like people don't change and don't, make significant changes to make. You know what? I did used to be this guy when I was younger, but I see that was a bad thing. I want to, teach the youth not to do this. I want to help them elevate themselves. But black people turn their backs on blacks quicker than anybody else, and all it takes is one white person to bring up a little bit of dirt or even just come up with some BS. I mean, I think about all the artists that were owning their own masters, all the wealthy blacks that were trying to buy networks so they can control what's broadcast on television. The moment they do that, then all of a sudden, he used to sell drugs, or now I don't know if I can use Bill Cosby. There's a whole lot of women. I don't want to say that. That's a lot of women saying he did that. I ain't gonna go there, but right. With high profile athletes, well, I use Michael Jackson. Now, I don't know if he touched those little kids, but later on, I've heard tapes of those kids saying, my dad told me to say this, and you can hear the guy saying in the background, he didn't want to do such and such for me, so we're gonna make him wish, he was never born. We're gonna ruin his career. Like stuff, and like that stuff is on tape, but nobody ever acknowledges it. So I'm just saying, if we're going to advance as a people, we have to stop letting all this stuff outside affect us. We have to start inside, and the black family structure is probably going to be the number one thing that has to change.
Yep, absolutely.
But we have so many wounds as far as that goes, like mental issues. Like people talk about slavery and how it's over and it doesn't affect people, but there's deep-rooted stuff that keeps black families and particularly black women and black men going at each other's necks. And the last thing I'm gonna say about that is Kendrick Lamar on Humble made a comment saying that He's tired of the Photoshop women. He wants to see natural women. He wants to see stretch marks.
Yep.
I've never seen so many angry black women in my life.
I know.
And I'm like, why are y'all upset?
Now that's just plain stupid.
They were mad because
I'm gonna call it stupid.
I'm not. Hey, you call it what you want. I'm just gonna say I was disappointed in their
reaction.
stupid.
No, it's stupid. Let's cut the bullshit. This man said he want a regular woman, and they found. No, let's call it what it is. It's Cocoa Shea Butter Twitter. That's what it was. Cocoa Shea Butter Twitter that found those black feminists that find a reason. Right. Let's find a reason to be mad.
And
that's the dumbest shit in the world. The dumbest shit.
Yeah, I didn't understand that either.
I mean, I understand the whole they don't want to be sexualized thing, but in that moment when he made it, it wasn't for the degradation of women. In my opinion, I feel like he was saying, look, I want y'all to be real. I want y'all to be who y'all are. That's what I got from it at that moment.
Right. He was saying, y'all already beautiful. You don't need to do all this extra stuff.
Nah, that's but they want to be wolves in sheep's clothing, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's the dumbest thing in the world. I'm sorry.
Well,
I mean, I don't apologize.
I was going to say, with what you were saying, though, Rob, man, like, I can't remember the video, but I remember a guy talking specifically about how if you know, the black community and black people want to, you know, better their situation, that they have to do exactly what you're saying. You know, it starts with the family, of course. But, you know, if you're trying to, you know, make a corporation work for you, and just in the theme of what we're talking about, you have to do that with money.
Yep.
So you have to stop spending those trillions with Nike or whoever, and you got to start spending it with your people. Other communities do it. I remember Sal saying that before. You know, other communities spend their money with, you know, within themselves. But, you know, again, there's a double-edged sword there, because if you're going to run a business, right, you got to be legitimate. You can't, you know, you can't just have people coming into your place and treating them disrespectfully, because, you know, you got to have them come back, and then that eventually leads to that change. But so I'll let you get the, you know, the last kind of comments here as we wrap up. But anything you want to add there as far as like how this kind of all ties back together to our community and the corporation and all that?
You know what? People ask me, if you guys were so great, what the fuck happened? And I'll tell you what happened. Basically, when it comes to the Moors, when the Moors, I guess you would say, popping back in the day, when they were doing good, basically what happened, they weren't following their own rules. And here's the kicker, white people that's listening. Black people made laws, okay? But with the laws that you see for you today, many of them, black people / Moors made laws. The problem is that black people stopped actually following those laws. So if I see that the head person is not following the law, then why the hell should I? It's basically, if I create a house rule and I'm the man of my house, and I tell my kids to act a particular way, and they see me acting whatever and breaking the house rules, do you really think the children are actually going to follow the rules when they see me not following the rules? Of course not. And that's basically what the Moors did. And then also the Moors, there were some traitors. When you look at Mussolini, I believe he dropped bombs or gas bombs on probably over about 500,000 Africans. And the Moors were the ones to help direct him. There were also Moors that helped King Leopold kill over like 1.5 million Africans as well. And it was the Moors out there helping execute it for him. So black people have, you know, turned on black people in the history. So it's something that's not new. It's deeply rooted in our past. So I want people to understand that, yes, like Rob said, yes, you know, white people have done us wrong in slavery. in a sense, but at the same time, we've kicked ourselves pretty bad.
Yeah.
But as far as what we need to do to help ourselves, I think the creating a nation would actually help us out a lot. I believe that's
Like
something that
separating
will.
from.
Yeah, well,
from
basically just having our own group. When you look
Yeah.
at white people, right? You see Italians, you see Jews, you see
Right. No, I got you.
Germans. As African Americans that we call ourselves, we don't have anything. Um, the greatest thing or the greatest example I could come up with would probably be a gang. Um, when you look at a gang, they actually may have some differences as far as views or whatnot, but ultimately, they're together on one accord, one page. That's something that's lacking in our community. Uh, the business sense is lacking in our community. What I wanted to
Definitely.
do was basically help people understand like what a nation is. Like when it comes to nationality, it doesn't like make you better than someone. It makes you better off. So like when it comes to nationality, it's basically the quality of a character of a group. So
Right.
it's a group dynamic. It's the collective that's like more important than the individual. You basically find common ground and you find a way to work together. There in our community, we need unity more than ever because, like Rob was saying, if a black person were to try to do something positive, there's probably going to be somebody that's black like, oh man, look at this nigga. Like we really don't support our own. That's a huge problem. Now, what I want to do is provide a possible blueprint for what we need to do. So basically, what I would propose is that whether it's just you and your friends or just a group of people that you may not know, but there's some great minds. First, create a business, okay? And then go to the bank with indigenous IDs, okay? Then you should go and get them EIN numbers, basically foreign phone numbers, the ones that start with like 98 or whatnot. And then you should have for that you should develop or set up some type of virtual office in another foreign country. Like you could pick like Mexico, or you could pick Brazil or something like that. And once you do that, you set up the domestic address with a simple PO box. And now after that you can set up your own accounts. And what that does is you can start doing trades with other nations. And with that, when you look at our community, the reason why a black kid or a black individual can be murdered so quickly by police or by anybody that's part of a hate group and nothing happens is because we really don't have control of anything when it comes to money or anything. So let's say if a cop kills us, our black community may be in an outrage for a couple of days, may do a protest, but our money doesn't do anything. We don't pull our money out of anywhere. See, if we created a nation, if we created these businesses, and we're able to do some type of trading with other nations, see what that does is it makes us very serious, because in our constitution we're still considered 3/5 human. So when you look at us creating these businesses and doing tradings and stuff, if there's an outrage, guess what happens? We take our spending money, just like Rob said. That's over $1 trillion that we spend every year. So if we have this so-called nation, they have no choice but to take us more serious, because now we take our money with us. You need our money. You need our money in the economics. So, creating a nation, whether it's just a few people or hundreds of people or even 1,000, that's what we need to start doing. And also, we need to develop our own police. There's too many times where we've tried to, depend on the regular police that's given to us. We need to actually buy some land and develop our own type of police force. And that's the way to be taken serious.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and again, like both of y'all alluding to, if you want to make a corporation nervous or you want to make a move in a direction that you think is appropriate, you got to use money. I mean, it's unfortunate,
right?
But that's kind of how the cards have been dealt in the situation we're in. And I mean, black people have gone through, hell and high water in this country. So I know as a community that we're capable. We've already been through the worst. I mean,
right.
It couldn't have been worse than back in the day.
Right.
So, I mean, the capability is there. You don't put a people through what our people have been through and they come out and they're not strong enough to get through something like this. But it's just a matter of coordination and realizing that the dollar is what you got to talk with, not just, going out and protesting. I ain't saying protesting is a bad thing, but, you got to make your money move with it. So
I'll say protesting is a waste of time. If you're out there on the street, I'm going to tell you like it is. It's a waste of time. It's 2017. Nothing's going to happen, okay? If anything, you'll be arrested. Now, if you want to, pat yourself on the back and say, hey, I protested and I got arrested. Right. I did this for y'all. Nobody's going to come out and bail you out and hug you and say thank you. So all I'm saying is it's a waste of time. But anyway, what I wanted to say to piggyback off of that, look at the gays. Look at how the gays developed some type of money package and gave it to Obama's administration. Look at how many laws were passed to be in favor for the homosexuals because of the packages that they were to give. Now, black people, if you see that homosexuals are treated better than you, guess what? You're fucking correct. Because you cannot say one gay slur on TV without losing basically all your endorsements and looked at as a terrible person. If the Trump administration can say any type of slur whatsoever, and they could come out and say that they're white supremacists, and you know what? Nothing happens. So all I want to say is when it comes to the whole money thing, it's very important. It's very important for black people to develop some type of stimulus package and go ahead and give it, to our politicians or whatnot, so they know that we mean business. Our votes carry a lot of weight when we have money. If we don't, showcase any type of money, who gives a damn about our votes?
Well, Rob, thanks for joining us. I know you're probably going to be coming back to discuss religion because I know we want to talk about that again because that's something that we put on SoundCloud, but we haven't put it on YouTube yet, so we're going to come back and piss a lot of people off. But
oh boy,
I know you're going to come back and join us for that. Appreciate you being here.
Oh, I do want to say one thing.
Go ahead. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Because today is a very special day. June 1st, it's actually 96 years since the Tulsa race riots that happened in 1921. So shout out to all those, that made it through that. It is where it was actually listed as a race riot, which actually what happened was white lady accused a black guy of raping her. So they snatched him up, took him to the police station. Now, back then, we had an actual community. So y'all should actually look up Black Wall Street since we're talking about growing a community and moving money.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Black Wall Street.
They went down there and they was like, actually, y'all not going to touch him. And it actually turned into like this big, huge blowout, which resulted in a state of emergency being called. I think it was the National Guard came in. But then, of course, they showed their true colors. The National Guard was firing their weapons in the crowds of black people. It was over the equivalent of $30 million in property damage was done 10,000 black families were left without places to stay. The Tulsa Vital Statistics Office said 35 people had got killed. Red Cross went back years later, had a formal investigation, found out there was over 300 that were killed. So there were some scholarships and some reparations paid to families that survived. But that's definitely something everybody should go back and look at. You know, when we talk about the atrocities that take place in the United States that are completely forgotten about, this is never mentioned in any history book. Even I've talked to people from Kansas. They have, like, we had Georgia studies. They have like Kansas studies and stuff like that. It's never mentioned. Even in Tulsa, they didn't talk about it for like 70 years. So it's just want to shout that out. June 1st, 1921. The race riot, in quotations. Y'all can't see my air quotes, but race riots of Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Good stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Appreciate that, man. Sal, you got you want to say anything before we head out, man?
Yeah, man. I want to give a couple shout outs. Shout out to my big bro, Mike Hall. Shout out to Josh Bivens. I told those two that we were going to do an episode on this, and they couldn't wait. So just want to shout them out. But also want to say, like I say always, our perceptions are reality. Anything you want to say?
No, hey, man, just thanks again for listening. Hopefully people learn something. Again, do your own research. Email us, blackismore@gmail.com. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button so we can get this video out and get more people on board and get more people learning and get educated about this stuff. So, yeah, that's it, man. We'll get with y'all next week. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Holla.